Indian music and also use just now. I've been to the farm many
你觉得往哪边要低一点？动了很多东西在上面。还好了，两个屏看起来是对的。麻烦看一下2号。
I mean, I don't know. So I'm not a person who does. So come and talk to me. So Neil has to know what it is. You know what's wrong with me? I'm doing yellow dog. So I didn't know I'm not on a dog. Now, Micah, I'm not even. I've been so busy, I haven't even looked at the program. What is it? Good, excellent. I'll be going by there. Okay. I'll try my maybe on that. All right.
That's okay. Yeah, let's see try and bring us. Find everybody nice. Yeah, talk. This is yours. Maybe you can fix later. Right now.
Hello, Crazy Man. How are you?
Okay.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
你放大大一点，你看比较好看。我看现在看是貌似是正常的，你看一下。对了，
This table is the most high-profile. Air New Zealand of CEO Piyush Goyal, the minister, that guy, will be sitting right in front. Then I think if we can zoom in into this table, maybe this is
How are you? I'm very well, and what a pleasure to see you.
Nice to see you.
Hi, how are you? Yeah, and thank you and the team for all your help. Yeah, I owe you one. Good. Hope to hear something we want to hear.
Yes, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to get underway in just 1 minute, so if you haven't already, can you make your way to your seats, and we'll get started. Thank you. Namaste and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tim McCready. It's a real pleasure to be here as your MC for this very special event, one that celebrates the strength, the momentum, and the opportunity in growing India-New Zealand relationship. On that note, I would like to acknowledge India's Minister for Commerce and Industry, Piyush Goyal. It has been 14 years since an Indian Minister of Commerce last visited New Zealand, and so that makes today's milestone quite significant, and so it's great to have the Minister with us here today. I would also like to acknowledge New Zealand's Minister for Trade and Investment, the Honourable Todd McClay, India's High Commissioner to New Zealand, Her Excellency Neetha Bhushan, the Consul General of India in Auckland, Dr. Madan Mohan Sethi, and also welcome to the 50-strong Indian business delegation who have travelled to be here today. Welcome, it is great to have you here in New Zealand. And to current and former members of Parliament, officials, and all distinguished guests, no mai, haere mai, welcome. Today's gathering comes at a pivotal moment in the India-New Zealand relationship. In March this year, our two countries launched negotiations towards a comprehensive free trade agreement. Today, we have a lineup of speakers that will talk about India's rise, the deep people-to-people ties, and the long-standing relationship between our two countries, and how India and New Zealand businesses can do more together. We will conclude with a fireside chat that brings together two people who are central to that conversation, the Honourable Minister Goyal and Minister McClay. But before I hand over to our first speaker, some very quick housekeeping remarks. If you need the restrooms, the closest ones are out the doors and to the right-hand side. In the unlikely event of any sort of emergency, just follow the lead of hotel staff. They will show us where the assembly point is. And following the formalities of today's event, there will be the opportunity to network and continue the conversation today. So please do join us over drinks and canapes for that. It is now my pleasure to introduce our first speaker this afternoon, Simon Bridges. Simon is the Chief Executive of the Auckland Business Chamber and a former government minister. He has been travelling to India for some time now. Most recently, he led a business delegation to India in 2023, and earlier this year, he joined the Prime Minister's delegation to India, one of the largest delegations a New Zealand Prime Minister has ever travelled with. Simon has been central to advancing New Zealand's relationship with India, including launching the New Zealand-India International Education Business Exchange earlier this year alongside the Consul General of India in Auckland, which is an industry-led platform for ongoing collaboration and dialogue. So with that said, could you please join me in welcoming to the stage Simon Bridges.
Well, thanks so much, Tim. Namaste. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to see such a big crowd here for this auspicious event to welcome and to welcome you to this special audience with our very special guest, Indian Minister of Commerce and Industry, the Honourable Piyush Goyal, and this Indian New Zealand Business Forum. I want to acknowledge the Honourable Piyush Goyal and also, of course, our Minister, the Honourable Todd McClay, who I personally know has been a very firm and long friend of India. I also want to acknowledge Her Excellency, the High Commissioner of India in New Zealand, Neetha Bhushan. I know Her Excellency's term as High Commissioner is soon at an end, and is right to note what a beneficial difference, what a great difference she's made in elevating relations between our nations, culminating in one of the biggest years in the relationship, possibly ever, this year, 2025. I know this afternoon isn't goodbye to Nita, but it is a fitting event to recognise her as she nears the end of her time in our country. I hope that, Nita, you've enjoyed it as much as we have enjoyed having you here. I also want to acknowledge our excellent and relatively new Consul General of India based here in Auckland, Madan Mohan Sethi. Like Your Excellency, you have brought great energy and vision to the role, and also a commercial edge, which, might I add, is very exciting. Today, we've got a capacity crowd and great New Zealand business people here, including many who are proudly Indian Kiwis or Kiwi Indians. It's terrific to see you all. But of course, our other very special guests are a contingent of 50 or so Indian business people who are part of the Federation of India Chambers of Commerce and Industry, the Confederation of Indian Industry, and the Associated Chambers of Commerce and Industry of India. In the group, there are top technologists, educationalists, and folk from agribusiness, energy, healthcare, tourism, construction, infrastructure, and much, much more. Welcome. We are delighted you are here, and I'm looking forward to hearing from your distinguished leaders very soon. You don't need much from me right now. Can I just finish with 2 or 3 very brief remarks? Firstly, the Auckland Business Chamber is 170 years old next year, and the largest chamber of commerce in New Zealand. We're really proud to bring you this special forum with our friends at the India New Zealand Business Council, Edwin. I'm really looking forward in a little while to chatting with our honourable ministers about our respective economies, international trade, wider India-New Zealand relations, and I think the great personal relationship that they've have formed, which is all to the good of the relationship, and I acknowledge them here right now. The ministers and Minister Goyal in particular have great, I should say, over the course of our lives, all of us in this room have seen India on the rise. And today we know it as an economic dynamo, a global superpower, and even better from this vantage point here in Auckland, a long-standing and firm friend of New Zealand. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here, particularly the ministers, Her Excellency, and I hope you enjoy this afternoon.
Great, thank you very much, Simon, and I'll just reiterate that by welcoming our distinguished guests. Our next speaker today is Edwin Paul, Chair of the India-New Zealand Business Council. He is a seasoned business leader and a tireless advocate for stronger trade and investment links between our two nations. He has been an active bridge builder between India and New Zealand, accompanying New Zealand's Prime Minister and ministers on official delegations and helping shape commercial and cultural partnerships. Can you please join me in welcoming Edwin to the stage?
I had a nice speech prepared, but Simon took all my talking points. But I guess with no speakers this evening, you'll probably hear the same themes being reported. So I just wanted to give you an alert on that. But other than that, namaste, good afternoon. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Edwin Paul. I am the chair of INZBC, the India-New Zealand Business Council, the proud co-host of this event along with the Auckland Business Chamber. It's my honor and privilege to acknowledge and welcome the Honourable Minister for Commerce and Industry, Government of India, Shri Piyush Goyalji, our own New Zealand Minister for Agriculture, Forestry, Trade and Investment, Honourable Todd Macleay, Her Excellency Nita Bhushanji, High Commissioner of India for New Zealand, His Excellency Dr. Madan Mohan Sethi, Counsel General for India and Auckland, Simon Bridges, CEO of Auckland Business Chamber, Honourable Members of Parliament, past and present from India and New Zealand, I also want to acknowledge, sorry, it's a long list. I also want to acknowledge our guests from FICCI, CI, and ASSOCHAM, our peer organizations in India. I'd like to also acknowledge members of the Indian delegation who've come as part of these organizations, and some Kiwi businesses who've traveled. I know a few who've come in from Christchurch, from Wellington, just to make it to this event. So I thank you all. And I also would like to acknowledge members of the India and New Zealand media, Kia rano and namaste. It's my privilege today to join you today in this special forum to address such a distinguished gathering of business leaders, policymakers, and delegates from India and New Zealand. I would especially like to welcome and thank the Honorable Mr. Piyush Goyalji, Minister of Commerce and Industry of India, whose visit comes at a moment of historic significance in our bilateral relationship. His presence here, alongside his business delegation brought by FICCI, marks a milestone in the journey towards a comprehensive free trade agreement between India and New Zealand. The last time I addressed our members, I recalled a verse from Rabindranath Tagore, and some of you might have heard this before, but I repeat this again for the interest of our ministers and for the others who missed that. Tagore, our Nobel laureate, writes, "Faith is the bird that feels the light and sings when the dawn is still dark." Faith is the bird that feels the light and sings when the dawn is still dark. All right, that is kind of the sense that we are all in at the moment. We know that it's going to be dawn. We know that inevitably there's going to be some good news, but it's still hard. We're still negotiating. It's still not done yet, right? So I'm just kind of preempting or setting the scene for things to come later. Today we gather in that moment before dawn on the cusp of a new era in India-New Zealand relationship. India and New Zealand, as you know, share a deep and enduring relationship rooted in shared democratic values, membership of the Commonwealth, principles of rule of law, open governance, and without saying, a common love for the game of cricket. However, besides the obvious ones, I want to call out today specifically our people-to-people relationships, connections that are vibrant, reflected in over 240,000 people of Indian origin who now call Aotearoa New Zealand home, contributing to sectors from education to enterprise. Culturally and economically, our ties are diverse, and that is actually an opportunity. There is no competition, we are different, there's enough room to play around different things, right? In recent years, you will hear this time and again that India has become one of New Zealand's largest fast-growing markets. Two-way trade increased approximately 2.6 billion annually. However, that's barely scratching the surface of the full potential of this relationship. This is just a teaser, folks. Just watch what happens. India today stands as the world's 5th largest economy, and it's projected to reach 3rd position by 2030. Its dynamic growth, expanding middle class, and innovation-driven sectors from pharmaceuticals to renewable energy make it a priority partner for economies like New Zealand. I don't want to go into the details of the free trade agreement or how many times we met and what time it's taken. That will be, most of you know the details. Again, you'll hear it again. But I want to kind of leave the audience with 4 specific things that we might need to do. And I keep reflecting with my board saying, all this while for the last 14, 15 years, we've been talking about getting an FTA, right? So, and when that happens, what next, right? Or if that doesn't happen, then what? Right? We just can't keep saying we want it, we want it, we want it. So either or not, we just need to have a roadmap. So. No, sir. No, sir. I'm very optimistically hoping to hear more from you. Not at all. I just want to leave it to the experts, Minister. I don't want to fill it up with my ignorance. But as business leaders today, we should view the FTA as not as a distant promise, but as a catalyst to act now. Like I said, we've seen it's been over a decade-long aspiration, right? So we kind of get the sense, and things may be delayed, things may take longer, but then if you just, I can't re-emphasize the cadence and the speed of things that has been happening, and you'll hear this again, commitments personally by the ministers, the timing, the frequency, the theme, the bonhomie, everything was a huge investment in this. And this could take a little longer, right? And all we can do is not lose hope and say, hey, no, this is not happening, but actually, give us all the energy to keep going for that extra mile. Probably the last mile? We can't say yet, but we're keen to hear more, right? So as business leaders, I thought it'll be good for us to kind of set the scene and say, what do we need to be doing now? So one is to identify niche export markets, and now we're talking to experts. Our level of engagement has come down to operational level, so it's not the most obvious tourism or dairy or agriculture, but there's far more diversity in options that are available for engagement. So I would encourage that. And also start preparing in a what-if scenario, right? An early prep-like scenario. If we get the FTA, what is the impact on our business? What will be the immediate impact? So start playing out those scenarios just as you would do at a board level. And the third thing is start forming these strategic relationships. This is just one of the many delegations when we talk within our stakeholders. Next year is going to be super busy. I can already start counting over half a dozen delegations back and forth, right? So have your powders dry, right? Be ready for short notice visits, but that's the tempo of things that's happening. And lastly, engage with government and industry forums to input into the FTA process. Again, it's not just the formal consultations, but every connection that you can help support this relationship, every opportunity that you can help with, please do that. So to the Indian business community here, that has come from India primarily, the FICCI delegation, New Zealand offers a gateway to the Pacific, reliability of business, environment, and global quality credentials. And to the Kiwi business community, India offers scale, dynamism, innovation, and a rapidly expanding middle class with evolving demand patterns. And when I talk to people who I help get into the India market, I kind of emphasize that one clear message. In India, most often, the opportunity is the challenge, right? I can break it down into, and when we talked about business market entry strategies, there's not just one opportunity. There's multiple ways a business can enter India. So it's not like what, so go with that. The scale, the size, the diversity would be the challenges. So be prepared for that. Our challenge and our opportunity is to move from bilateral trade of goods and transactional relationships to co-creating ecosystems, joint R&D, co-manufacture, second-tier services, and deeper supply chain integration. Today, I call on each of you here to make the India-New Zealand partnership real in your own domain. Whatever industry you are, ask, how can I work with my counterpart in India or New Zealand to unlock value, not just export-sale transaction, but co-innovation, co-investment, and potential joint ventures. I also urge our respective governments and business councils to maintain momentum in the FTA discussions, and for the private sector to be active participants in shaping the outcomes. In closing, I commend the Auckland Business Chamber and the India-New Zealand Business Council for stepping up to this occasion and putting up this great event. And let us commit to this, making this year ahead not just one of hope, but one of concrete business deals, investment flows, joint projects, and deeper trust between our two great nations. To that effect, I'd like to conclude with one of the great words of wisdom and leadership of Lord Krishna to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, where the epitome of yoga is explained. It says, let us commit ourselves fully to the purposeful action, for it is sincere effort that defines true outcome. Thank you.
Great, thanks very much, Edwin. I think the room particularly liked it when you reminded us all that there is going to be some good news at some point in the near future. Nice also to get a taster of the Minister's sense of humour there before the fireside chat later today. Our next speaker, Ganesh Ramani, has been with Tata Consultancy Services for more than 20 years, representing the company in India and Australia, and now serves as country head for New Zealand. He is speaking here today as a member of the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, a non-government, not-for-profit body that serves as a voice for India business and industry. Can you please welcome Ganesh Ramani?
Hello, everyone. Mr. Todd McClay, Honourable Minister for Trade, Investment, Agriculture, Forestry, and Associate Minister for Foreign Affairs, New Zealand. Mr. Piyush Goyal, Honourable Minister for Commerce and Industry, India. Ms. Neeta Bhushan, Honourable Indian High Commissioner to New Zealand. Dr. Madan Mohan Sethi, Indian Consul General for New Zealand. Simon Ridges, CEO, Auckland Business Chamber. And distinguished guests, ladies, gentlemen, kia ora, namaste. My name is Ganesh Ramani, an Indian by origin, Australian by nationality, and today the country head for Tata Consultancy Services in New Zealand. Today I stand beside you representing FICCI, the Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. It is both an honor and a privilege to be part of the New Zealand-India Business Forum. Though separated by geography, India and New Zealand are bound by mutual respect and a partnership that has evolved from friendly beginnings to a dynamic and forward-looking alliance. Throughout the collaboration in trade, technology, and innovation, we've not only strengthened bilateral relationships, but also co-created a future of mutual growth, resiliency, trust, and prosperity. Trade and technology were some of the themes that were discussed, and the chambers like FICCI and companies like TCS hosted the Prime Minister Luxon, during the recent visit to India earlier this year. As a part of the results and tangible outcomes from that visit, MOUs were signed, new relationships were forged, like code-share agreements between Air India and New Zealand. New Zealand is at the cusp of growth and reform, and the government has come up with multiple announcements in the recent weeks towards economic development and technological advancement. We touched upon some of that in a session just prior to this, but let me highlight a couple of them. Very recently, as you know, the government in New Zealand has projected a 13 billion spend in technology over the next 5 years. The government chief data officer believes that centralization and technology simplification can result in a 30% reduction of spends. In addition, there are discussions to explore the possibility of building a digital identity core and exploring ways to consume this identity framework. There's also a lot of interest in payment transformation, adopting components from the India digital public sector infrastructure stack. So a lot of good conversations that are flowing in between both the chambers as well as the corporates and governments between India and New Zealand. The other one is the banking reforms. So recently, I think there was an announcement on the banking reforms with an impetus for encouraging Tier 2 and Tier 3 banks in New Zealand so that they can embark on that technology transformation to compete with the best banks globally. There's also a clear segue into the retail reforms, where there's a clear thought process in attracting foreign investment in retail, creation of a level playing field to encourage more startups, companies to compete in grocery and retail space. All of this is, again, music to the ears for startups, fintechs across both the countries to be able to cash in on this opportunity and see how we can take it forward. The Indian software industry, some of them whom I represent, are also making inroads and significant investments towards these initiatives. Companies like TCS are already technology partners in some of the marquee transformation logos here in New Zealand, like the Warehouse Group, and New Zealand, Fonterra, Spark, 1NZ, Genesis, and beyond. They've also been, in the forefront in executing prescriptive solutions for public sector initiatives and are constantly identifying innovative and creative ways to promote business and technological collaboration in sectors like aviation, food, beverage, and manufacturing. The journey has just begun. The future is bright, and there's so much we can do together. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, India and New Zealand are not merely trade partners. Our shared emphasis on sustainability and innovation embodies the spirit of cooperation and reflects our collective vision for a stable and prosperous Indo-Pacific. The ideas and partnerships that emerge from today's deliberations will help shape a new chapter in the New Zealand-India relationships, one that's grounded in mutual trust, entrepreneurial spirit, and a forward-looking vision for growth. I'm confident that this visit will lay the foundation for a stronger, more resilient, and future-ready partnership with India and New Zealand. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much, Ganesh, and for touching on some of those sectors that we will be hearing more about very soon. Our next speaker joins us from the Confederation of Indian Industry, a non-government, not-for-profit, industry-led body with a membership of nearly 10,000 companies across the public and private sectors. It plays a vital role in bringing together business, government, and community to drive India's economic growth and open up new opportunities for collaboration. Could you please welcome Mr. Bhardwaj to the stage?
Yeah, all right, namaste everyone. My name is Siddharth Bhardwaj. I am the business head for Infosys in New Zealand. Been in New Zealand for 15 years now. I work very closely with the technology sector in New Zealand. Glad to meet you all. It's been a great privilege and an important visit accompanying Honorable Mr. Shri Piyush Goyalji to New Zealand. This mission marks an important milestone in our shared efforts to strengthen economic and strategic cooperation between India and New Zealand. I would also like to express CISD's appreciation for the participation of New Zealand Ministers for Trade, Honorable Todd McLay, in the CIA partnership, which is being held 14th and 15th November in Vizag in India. The summit, which is CIS flagship global event, convenes heads of government, ministers, CEOs, and thought leaders to shape the global growth agenda. We are honored to have New Zealand's presence at this important platform. Over the past 2 years, we have seen renewed focus developing the partnership and the relationship between the two great nations, India and New Zealand. We had the Honorable Prime Minister Chris Luxon visiting India last year. After a few years, we are seeing Minister of Commerce and Industry from India visiting us here to ensure that this partnership goes further and ahead. I think there's a strong will on both the sides to broaden the cooperation beyond trade to innovation, education, climate, and people-to-people links, all areas where India and New Zealand share complementary strength. I think being here for 15 years, I think there are a lot of areas where we provide complementary strengths to each other. There are New Zealand products which will be always in great demand in India, and I think India's technological innovation, our footprint in digital innovation brings a lot of value to New Zealand, and I can speak more from behalf of my industry as well. India today is one of the fastest growing major economies in the world, with GDP growth consistently above 7%, with strong domestic demand, great supply chain links, and a strong digital infrastructure inside the country. India's focus on manufacturing, renewable energy, and digital transformation aligns well with New Zealand's priorities of sustainability, innovation, and green transition. Through initiatives such as Make in India, Digital India, and Atmanirbhar Bharat, India offers a stable and attractive investment climate for international partners. Some of the key areas which I think will be very welcoming for this partnership and hopefully for the soon to be announced the free trade agreement. The number one and the foremost is agriculture and food processing. In the previous session we had with the Honorable Minister, we spoke about the potential of how can we exchange a lot of agricultural products between the two countries, and there's a huge demand for processed products on both the sides. There is opportunity which exists in the renewable energy and climate solutions. Both the countries are committed to net zero goals. Cooperation in renewable energy offer immense scope. India has a major advantage in solar farms, and New Zealand being here for so long, I've seen some fantastic infrastructure on hydro and geothermal energy. I think some of you will be going to Rotorua tomorrow. Do check out the geothermal power plant there. It's a very, very fascinating infrastructure. Digital economy and innovation. Now, this is very, very interesting. I think very few people will know, probably New Zealand was the first countries to go cashless, right? The amount of FPOS infrastructure we have created in New Zealand is amazing. Similarly, what India has done with the UPI infrastructure, how it has brought the underprivileged of the society back into the banking infrastructure is a huge, huge innovation. I think these two things can come together. I think New Zealand's appetite to try new things, to be at the forefront of innovation, and what's happening in India, can be really coming true. We at Infosys, we host quite regularly various New Zealand business leaders. We had the Australian, New Zealand women leaders in our campus last week. I was there with them, and I think what we showcase to them of what India is doing, what our chairman Nandan is doing, being the CTO of India, I think those innovations will be a lot of value for New Zealand. I can speak from my experience as well. Amongst all our global footprint of different clients, Infosys work at 67 countries globally. One of the first use cases we actually deployed in the world was in New Zealand. And it's because that Kiwi entrepreneurial mindset, it allows us to try out new things. Similarly, healthcare and pharmaceuticals, I think India has a big leap and edge in terms of pharmaceutical and healthcare industry, which can play a big role to support New Zealand's healthcare needs, especially through generic medicines, telemedicine, and digital health platforms. The CII has been privileged to partner closely with the India-New Zealand Business Council and New Zealand Trade and Enterprise, and CII remains committed to serving as a bridge between our industries, helping translate government-level discussions into practical, on-the-ground partnerships. CIA is consulting with industry stakeholders to ensure that the FTA captures opportunities for MSMEs, technology firms, and service providers, while promoting regulatory cooperation and mutual recognition of standards. The foundation of our bilateral relationship is built on strong trust, shared democratic values, and complementary economic strength. The challenge now is to move from dialogue to delivery to design concrete projects that demonstrate tangible benefits of this partnership to all of us. CIA stands ready to facilitate business-to-business engagement, policy dialogue, and multi-stakeholder collaboration across both the markets. Thank you, and we look forward to hosting the New Zealand counterparts at the Partnership Summit in Vizag next month, and to deepen this dialogue in the months ahead. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much, Siddharth. It's really exciting to hear about all of the opportunities that are ahead of us. To tell us more about some of those, our next speaker is Dr. Paramjit Singh Makhani, who is a prominent business leader with extensive experience across entrepreneurship, finance, and innovation. As president of Pantomath Financial Services Group, Paramjit oversees a diversified financial services firm offering services from asset management and structured finance to AI-driven investment solutions. He has a history of scaling more than 30 companies and projects. In addition, he is here today as a member of the Managing Committee of the Associated Chambers of Commerce and Industry of India, India's oldest apex chamber, representing over 450,000 companies. Could you please welcome Dr. Paramjit Singh Makhani.
Very good evening, Honorable Excellencies, dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great honor and privilege to be part of the Indian business delegation under the leadership of our visionary, none other than Minister of Commerce and Industry of India, Shri Piyush Goyal ji. This is Dr. Paramjit Singh Makhani from Pantomath Financial Services Group. I serve as Director for Global Operations and the CEO. We are India's largest mid-market investment bank, and we cater to over $11 billion under asset management. Today, I do not stand here representing financial services or just the investment community of India. I have the pleasure of representing India and ASSOCHAM, the Associated Chambers of Industry and Commerce of India, a national chamber with a proud legacy of over 105 years of championing Indian business interests at home and abroad. The India-New Zealand Free Trade Agreement, relaunched in March 2025, marks an important milestone in our shared journey. It sets the stage for a deeper and more dynamic partnership in trade, investment, and innovation between our two nations. On behalf of the Indian industry and ASSOCHAM, I extend heartfelt appreciation to our Honorable Minister for his vision, leadership, and tireless commitment to strengthening India's trade and investment relations globally. This year, the Honorable Minister has left no stone unturned in expanding India's global footprint. negotiating modern, forward-looking FTAs with key partners and setting the stage for India's growth story and anchored in self-reliance, resilience, and inclusive development. Looking ahead, the post-FTA landscape between India and New Zealand promises to be strategic, diversified, and innovation-driven, evolving from a commodity-based exchange to a value-driven, technology-led partnership. India's scale, talent, and market potential combined with New Zealand's expertise in niche sectors and sustainability together offer a win-win framework for both the countries. As we move forward, ASSOCHAM remains fully committed to serving as a bridge between policy and enterprise, ensuring that the India-New Zealand FTA translates from a formal agreement into tangible business growth, investment flows, and innovation partnerships. Through sustained institutional engagement, knowledge sharing, and a B2B facilitation, ASSOCHAM will continue to play an active role in shaping the next phase of India-New Zealand economic relations. With such a strong leadership, I know we're not just fixing yesterday's problem with tomorrow's FTAs, but solving tomorrow's problem with a partnership that starts today. I wish all the representatives from administration, business, and investment community a very, very all the best. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Great, thank you very much, Paramjit. Great to have you here in New Zealand. It is now my pleasure to introduce our final speaker ahead of our fireside conversation. Her Excellency Neetha Bhushan is High Commissioner of India to New Zealand. She joined the Indian Foreign Service in 1994 and has served in diplomatic postings across Japan, Bangladesh, Germany, the UAE, and the United States. She is also accredited to Niue, Cook Islands, Vanuatu, Samoa, and is the first female High Commissioner of India to New Zealand. Throughout her distinguished career, she has been recognized for her leadership in advancing India's global partnerships and strengthening economic and cultural connections across regions. Could you please join me in welcoming Her Excellency Neetha Bhushan.
Honorable Minister of Commerce and Industry from the Government of India, His Excellency Mr. Piyush Goyal, Honorable Minister of Trade and Agriculture of New Zealand, His Excellency Mr. Todd McClay, Mr. Simon Bridges, CEO of Auckland Chamber of Commerce, business leaders from INZBC, FICCI, CII, and ASSOCHAM, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Namaste and Kia ora. It is indeed a great privilege and honor for me to welcome you all to the business event of the year, the New Zealand-India Business Forum. The visit of Honorable Commerce and Industry Minister has been long awaited by the vibrant business community here. Sir, I would like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here in New Zealand, which truly signifies the importance that the Government of India attaches to further strengthening India-New Zealand partnership. There has been enormous interest in the India growth story and how our two friendly and like-minded countries can work together to promote collaboration for mutual benefit. Distinguished guests, over the last several years, our two countries have seen a significant uplift in our bilateral relations. Whether it was the visit of Honorable President of India, Her Excellency Mrs. Draupadi Murmu to New Zealand last year, or the visit of Honorable Prime Minister of New Zealand, Prime Minister Lakson to India in March this year, significant progress and a huge momentum to our bilateral ties can be seen. And it is evident. Signing of memorandums of understandings in the sectors of defense, security, customs, renewable energy, forestry, disaster resilience, sports, education, to name a few sectors, have contributed to cementing our partnership across various fields. The opening of the Consulate General of India in Auckland last year also is a clear reflection of India's desire to not just increase its diplomatic footprint in New Zealand, but engage more with the business hub here in Auckland. The signal that direct flights are being considered have been met by great cheer, and the recent launch of commemoration of 100 years of sporting ties between our two countries is yet another milestone towards achieving the full potential of our bilateral relations. The start of FTA negotiations have generated unprecedented enthusiasm among the business community, as it is expected to open huge possibilities for businesses to take advantage of the synergies and complementarities on both sides. In my 3 years here, I have seen that India has been consistently on the minds of the leaders and the businesses as the preferred destination for trade and investment. And it is truly wonderful to see the who's who of New Zealand business here in the audience today. This is a very rare opportunity for all of us when we have two very inspiring ministers here. And I know that we are all waiting to hear the fireside chat. So I will not stand between you and the ministers. I just want to say in conclusion that I am very confident that this visit would be another big stepping stone towards achieving our goals of a very strong and close India-New Zealand partnership. Just before closing, I would like to thank our partners, Auckland Business Chamber and Simon Bridges, for working with us over the last several months to make this event possible. Thank you so much. Jai Hind, Namaste.
Great, thank you very much, High Commissioner. It is now my pleasure to introduce our speakers for today's fireside chat. First, the Honourable Piyush Goyal, India's Minister of Commerce and Industry. Minister Goyal is a senior cabinet leader in the Modi government and has overseen multiple key portfolios, driving reforms in trade, energy and infrastructure. He has a distinguished background in both the public service and in finance, and his vision plays a key role in shaping India's engagement with the global community. And we've already seen a little bit of his sense of humour. In preparation for today's event, I watched the Economic Times Startup Awards that were held just a couple of days over in India, during which the minister was asked on stage, "You're overseeing so many international trade agreements. When is the big one coming?" To which he replied, "You mean the one with New Zealand?" And yeah. And that is not the response he got from that audience, which laughed, because that was not the answer that they were expecting, but we love to hear it. Great to have you here, Minister. Joining Minister Goyal on stage will be the Honourable Todd McClay, New Zealand's Minister for Trade and Investment. Minister McClay has been a driving force behind the relationship in growing the relationship between New Zealand and India, regularly meeting with Minister Goyal and leading multiple delegations to strengthen ties across trade and investment. The deepening relationship has seen an unprecedented level of engagement over the last 2 years, which has been a top priority of this government. So much so that Minister McClay received the inaugural Friend of India Award at the Kiwi Indian Hall of Fame last year, recognising his sustained efforts to advance economic cooperation and progress the free trade agreement. Can you please join me in welcoming Minister Goyal, Minister McClay, along with Simon Bridges to the stage, who will moderate this conversation.
Well, good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. What a treat, what a privilege to have these two distinguished gentlemen of international affairs and very experienced, seasoned ministers with us. Can I start, Minister Goyal, with you? I know this is your first official visit to New Zealand. Quickly, is it your first visit in any capacity to New Zealand, or have you been here before?
To Auckland, my first visit, but to New Zealand, my second visit. And I have such fond memories of the first visit because I came as a tourist with two very young kids. Mostly went to the beaches and spent time there. And probably the last time I drove a car was in New Zealand.
We put you off for life, did we? Was it that bad? I happen to be in charge of the roads for the government, but we won't go into that.
Simon, the story gets better. Carry on.
You want to hear? You want them to hear it? Okay, so I used to normally not drive too much, but everybody insisted, and internationally I'd never driven before. So when I came to this side of the world, everybody insisted I must rent a car and drive myself. So it was a new experience. Right from the renting of the car was quite a new thing for me. Took the car, went around the country, loved it. Of course, you would drive miles without even seeing another car. And
Only sheep.
Yeah, but then I didn't look at the sheep. I had my wife next to me and 2 kids, so I didn't want to take chances with the surroundings. But anyway, had a lovely trip, enjoyed myself, went back home. And every time I visited my parents' home for almost 6 months after that, there was a letter from the government of New Zealand waiting at my... And my mother used to ask me, why is the government of New Zealand writing so many letters to you? And I can understand, we also have occasionally to pay a fine in India. Sadly, my passport still had my parents' home address on it. But the worst was yet to come. Initially, there was $200 and stuff like that. One fine day I reached there and I get an $800 fine. And I was shocked absolutely. So I tried to make inquiries and I found that the faster you go, the fine keeps increasing. Is it still like that? And how can you blame us for it? The roads are built to drive fast.
Fantastic.
And,
You know what?
and Simon, our negotiators are upstairs right now. If we land the free trade agreement, I've promised the Minister of Transport will refund your fines.
I was very tempted not to pay. Very, very tempted. For a moment I thought, when will I ever go back so far? But just imagine if I had not paid those fines and when I landed here today and I was not allowed entry to your country.
I've done a few of these. That was not the answer I was expecting. I tell you, I just say, you sign the FTA with dairy included right now, we wipe the fees, it's fine. Minister Macleay, if I've got this wrong, blame my researchers. I have a vague sense, though, you 2 gentlemen tomorrow are off to Rotorua. That's his hometown. It's a very nice place. You'll notice it smells different. I understand... I have a sense you are doing something special. You are cooking a home-cooked meal. I know from experience you are a very good chef. Is this true? If it is, what's on the menu?
Well, it's for others to judge whether I'm a good cook or not, so thank you so much. But look, Piesh, welcome to New Zealand with your delegation. I think it is 18 years since a Commerce Minister from India has come to New Zealand, so we're very grateful you've come all this way down here, and you promised, I think, on my first meeting with you, the government had been formed for only weeks, and I jumped on a plane and went to India, and we had an opportunity to meet, and I invited Piesh down, and he promised he would come. I told him it was very, very close, because when we arrived there, when we had the meeting, a magnificent office with a view of the city, he took me outside and pointed the buildings out, and he said to me, when did you arrive? And I said, well, we got here this morning. We've flown straight through to get here, so many hours. And he said, when are you going home? And I said, well, I'm leaving soon, and we're going straight home. And he said, but New Zealand is such a very, very long way away. And I said, well, you're right, but we have a budget on at the moment. And I made a commitment before the election at a very large conference with the New Zealand Indian business community, this hotel, almost 1,000 people there, that I would visit India within the first 3 months. and the Prime Minister gave me permission. And so what I've decided to do in one of the many visits there, Piyush welcomed me to his city and to his home. So we're going to Rotorua tomorrow to look at some of the sites, to do a lot of work, but largely to engage with the New Zealand Indian community. 300,000 Indians call New Zealand home, our third largest ethnic group. You're not meeting all of them in Rotorua, but we're going to meet as many of them as we can.
Fantastic. Typical politician, didn't answer my question. That's okay. I mean, we are, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get a bit more serious. It's not all jokes. I'm interested, gentlemen, you know, you are very experienced ministers. You've ministered 6 years in your current roles. Minister Macleay, it's your second time around, and things are always better the second time. You now have met each other on the international stage, on the circuit, what, how many times?
Probably 8 or 9 times.
And
even more.
And I'm offering you, you know, I'm trying to get the mood music for the trade deal right here. I'm offering you the chance to say nice things about each other. What Minister Goyal and Minister Macleay, what is each other's style, working style on the international stage in those forums?
You want to go first?
I'll take the last word. You go first.
Well, I think I must share with you that Minister Todd Macleay is so lovable, so affable, that almost all the trade ministers get along very well with him. He's extremely kind, extremely courteous, and always willing to offer solutions and bridge the gap when we are all engaged in some very serious discussions or negotiations. I find Todd is always willing to come up with some nice, simple way to get everybody on the same page. So in that sense, it's always a pleasure to have him around when we are on international engagements. When we are alone with each other, I think he's too sweet. No rough edges, very, very polite. I have not heard him raise his voice even once, and I can't say the same about myself. And truly a delight. One would almost feel from the day we first met, we just hit it off very, very smoothly. And I don't think we've ever looked back. So he has a walk-in relationship with me. It's something like we look forward to meeting each other. And that's what set the tone. Otherwise, I don't know if some of you may be knowing, India and New Zealand attempted to do a free trade agreement 20 years ago or 25 years ago, but could not succeed. This time around, right from the word go, both of us decided that we'll look at this relationship completely afresh. We won't go into the old files. We won't go into the old disagreements. And the beauty about the current round of discussions is we both recognize and respect each other's country's sensitivities. Every country has certain sensitivities. For example, wherever I go in the world, wherever, I love to carry a little bites, a little snack, Indian snack, so that anytime I'm a little in the mood for something spicy or something crunchy, I just have to get into my bag, open it, and I'll have maybe, I don't know how many of you know about Indian snacks, but one or the other Indian snack with me. My assistant has been on my back ever since the New Zealand trip was planned, because they all know that I'll have these snacks. You're not carrying anything into this.
Well, you've already got in trouble with the authorities once, Minister. Don't do it again.
So I don't know how much I've left behind in Singapore on the way in. And the rest I left behind at the airport. And in India, wasting food is considered completely taboo. And it was painful to see those delicious knickknacks being left behind before I came in. But that's only to demonstrate. We both agreed that we'll look at this relationship respecting each other's sensitivities and coming up with solutions which are a win-win to make this partnership go to the next level. In life, it's not always that you can get everything you want. And every relationship has to be seen in the context of each other's, of the possibilities of that relationship. So what I do with European Union, for example, a $20 trillion economy, or what I do with the 10-nation ASEAN group, collectively a very large population, a very large economy overall in the aggregate, cannot become a benchmark for what I will be able to do with New Zealand. Size, scale, all of those have to be taken into consideration. The kind of market size that I will be opening up versus the market size that New Zealand will be opening. So we both set the context, and the good part was that I found in him a very understanding person, oriented to having, with the long experience he's had in international world, in Brussels, as a minister now for so long, probably 13, 14 years. So I think it's so easy to be able to communicate and get an understanding of the situation that probably this time around we can do it.
Wonderful. That was pretty good. So what have you got, sweetie?
Well, look, thank you so much. That's so very gracious of you. I've got to say, from our first meeting, I was struck by the focus and drive and determination, but much, much more than that, the energy. Let me tell you a little story about when I visited just the end of last year, actually. We went up there again for another very quick one-day trip. I think in total I've been to India 5 times now, and I'm there Thursday next week as well. Piesh has invited me to come and speak to an international trade convention, and we have a trade mission from New Zealand, from the forestry and wood sector, going up to look for opportunities to create long-term partnerships with partners in India. But when we visited last year, the end of last year, I met Piesh in his parliamentary office in Parliament, because he was elected to Parliament last year and continued as a minister. And we went in there, and there were maybe 15, 20 people there and sitting around and so on, and was greeted very warmly and introduced to people. And I realized there were 3, maybe 4 different meetings going on there. And at the same time, telephones were coming to deal with a very wide number of things going on in his portfolios around the country. So the ability to have so much drive and determination and energy, and to focus on how to, as he has said, find solutions to challenges rather than continuing to just argue the same argument all the time, is something I absolutely respect in him. The second time that we met was the WTO ministerial meeting in Abu Dhabi very early last year. I was given the privilege of being one of the deputy chairs of the meeting. And it's fair to say that the WTO has achieved a lot for the world when it comes to trade. We need rules when it comes to trade, because without rules, businesses don't have the certainty that they need to make decisions about investment and creating trading partnerships that will help them grow. And trade is good for citizens in all countries. But it's also fair to say that the WTO has been very slow to make the decisions that it needs to, number one. Number two, it doesn't always recognise in the drive for rules or simplification of rules or getting barriers down that there are different speeds of development when it comes to trade in different countries. And I've got to say, Piesh, I very much admired the way that you made the case for India in that meeting, and when so many others would say, well, actually, we should, go home or just settle, you kept discussing and arguing. The reason I like that is my job as a trade minister, yours is to get the very best that we can for our countries. But as you've just said, we don't get the best for our countries, for our citizens, by imagining everything is there. Trade is when everybody wins. And if I look at the trading relationships we have around the world, whether it's in China or the EU, or whether it's in the UK or in America, New Zealand, of a population of 5 million people, always punches above its weight. As consumers, we do so very, very well. And so the opportunity that we have, and we agreed together, we shouldn't go to our prime ministers and recommend we should launch a negotiation, unless we were committed to getting it done and finding solutions. And as we will work at this, and trade negotiations are never easy, they're never easy. But as we work at this, and when we land it, because we have both said we commit to doing so, then the trade will grow between us, the people-to-people links will grow, and actually it's your vision and your energy that has allowed us in a very short period of time to get close enough to something that 20 years ago people only dreamed of and wasn't possible. But, you know, between us, I think we can get this done.
Fantastic. I have 100 questions, but time is marching. Let's talk trade. Let's talk the trade agreement. I'm not going to try and get you on specifics or prejudice your negotiating positions, unless you want me to. But what I would like to ask you both, gentlemen, is from your respective positions, you know, what are the significant benefits you see for your nation? And what's the value proposition for your people from concluding a trade agreement? In your case, Minister, with New Zealand, yours with India, Mr. Macleay.
Thank you, Simon. That's a very fair comment. In the first place, and just before I came here, I was sitting with the delegation from India. And by the way, this is the largest delegation ever to come to New Zealand, or possibly even this part of the world. 43 business persons have come in with me. And I was sharing with them that one should always be in an exploratory mode for new opportunities, new territories, new partners, new friends. And one of the important elements of a free trade agreement is a signal to the world that the friendship between two nations is strong. There's a strong element of trust. There will be certainty and predictability in policy. And there will be, particularly between two democracies like New Zealand and India, the rule of law, which will always help and guide businesses to grow together. I think New Zealand offers a number of opportunities for our business persons, offers technologies in the agri field which would be of great value for our farmers back home. Also, we recognize that going forward, if India is to become a developed nation, and today there's a wide disparity between the two nations, not only in size, also in terms of income levels of people. As we desire our economy to grow, our people to have a better quality of life, a better future for their children, I think friendship and trade and partnership with countries like New Zealand will help our people aspire big, will help our people meet the needs of New Zealand, as well as provide opportunities for our people in terms of business, jobs, capability to learn about better and higher productivity farming back home in India. So we've been trying to, in this trade negotiation, go beyond the traditional tariff negotiations or reduction in tariff to newer ways to expand this relationship.
Fantastic. And Minister, I'll get you the answer to the same question, but, you know, Minister Goyal said he likes it spicy. Let's make it a bit spicy here. I mean, less than 2% of our exports last year were to India. How do we improve upon that? Are we going to see something that's commercially meaningful for both sides?
Well, the answer is it must be commercially meaningful for both sides, and it will be, because there's just huge opportunity there. I agree with Pierce. The areas that we can cooperate in, you know, before you come to tariffs and trade and so on, is actually how we grow that two-way trade. You know, for New Zealand, when we were in opposition, we decided that our relationship with India would be a strategic priority for a government led by Christopher Luxon. And we reached out to the New Zealand Indian community and decided to hold a small summit. And it was actually, you know, many hundreds and hundreds of people came along to talk about the things that were important to the Indian New Zealand community, business community, but just broadly, widely the community. And so actually, in getting to government, we have lent into that that, to deliver upon that commitment we made before the election across the board. And we've seen agreements already, as well as, many other things happening. We've found ways for India and New Zealand to work more closer together in defence and security, around aviation, those people-to-people links. I want more young New Zealanders to go to India to learn and to be involved in education. And we want more young Indians to come here to get their education, to get some experience of the world and take it back to help India grow. We want a lot more direct foreign investment in New Zealand, but we also want New Zealanders to go and partner and invest in India. Because you're going to meet people during the course of the next couple of days. Indian New Zealanders are already going to India to invest in manufacturing there, to bring products to New Zealand rather than just manufacturing here to send up. And so there'll be many, many opportunities there. But Simon, the most important thing I think our Prime Minister said in front of the India and New Zealand Business Council a short while ago, the way that we deliver the opportunity is you don't leave it to governments alone. It is you, the business community, and the people of New Zealand and India that will take it to the next level. Our job is to get something that gives you the framework to build upon, and we're working very, very hard at that, and we've committed to getting it done and not giving up until it's done properly, which means you don't have to rush. But guess what? We're not going to take too much time either. But then we have to empower the business community, the people of New Zealand and India to come together, and we have to get those direct flights between India and New Zealand. And the rest will look after itself.
Fantastic. May I just add one? He's raised a very, very important point, which I'd like to elaborate a little more for everybody's consideration. Honorable Minister Todd spoke about New Zealand children coming and spending some time in India. Now, remember, the growth opportunities of the future are going to be in countries in Asia, in Africa, in Latin America. These are the areas where there's a more youthful population, where there's need and desire. Desire everybody has, but the need to grow is so much that there's fire in the belly of those youngsters there. But they don't get, or they not over the years get the same opportunities that many of you got. But if you have to grow your economy, you will have to work in collaboration with these regions. And living in, let's say, a country like India, somebody from New Zealand does a dual degree between a college in India and a college in New Zealand. And during the course of that, he spends 6 months or a year in Mumbai, in Delhi, in Pune, in Bangalore. He will get a feel of the culture. He will see the palpable excitement in the air. He will see the areas that these countries require. He will understand what could be opportunities. After all, if he spends 6 months or a year, he'll be going around the place. His mind is sharp. He'll be able to observe the opportunities. And that will grow business. That will grow the people-to-people relationship. That will open the eyes of our Indian young men and women when they interact with a New Zealander there, to possibly tourism. I mean, look at what wonderful work you've done on coastal tourism. I came all the way from India for that. To, where was that, Queenstown? By the way, I also went as far deep as Dunedin.
Well, look, I'm sorry. I mean, it's no. We fully agree. You make some great points. I think, we have a sense now that, your top education institutions are amongst the best in the world, in fact. And I just want to acknowledge some good points you've made there. I liked what our MC said. You were asked and you got a good laugh. You're most important, you said, the New Zealand EU FTA. I sadly find that a little hard to believe. But what I do want to ask you is, we're so small. Is there nevertheless, putting the trade aspect to one side, is there a strategic, is there a geopolitical aspect to this trade deal for you as Indians?
Well, we both got independence in the same year, 1947. We're both vibrant democracies. In fact, we also share the legacy of having come out of British rule and have been developing our economies. Of course, my constituency, just the one constituency that I represent out of 543 in India, has 60% of the population that you have over here. So there is huge difference in size and scale. But there's a huge convergence in thinking and commitment to democracy, commitment to the principles of brotherhood, commitment to sustainability. So in that sense, this is a relationship which has tremendous potential. Leave aside the size. Collectively, we are big, right? The important thing is intent. The important thing is whether the small population of New Zealand can benefit from the large market in India. Simultaneously, whether the large set of people in India can benefit from some of the innovations that you have done in New Zealand, some of the new practices that you are following in New Zealand. And just imagine, suppose you have a smart way of doing your kiwi farming. Now here, you probably have very large farms, you're able to get very high productivity. Whereas in India, we would have very small farms. An average farm in India is 2 acres, 1.5 acre. Most would be even less smaller than that. In that situation, if some of your technologies from here were to come to India and help our orange growers with some similarity in the citrus fruit, you could actually contribute to something which is very human also. The small farmers, small incomes, very almost sustainable level of sustainable incomes, barely sustaining their lifestyle. Sustenance farming is what you'll see in India, not commercial farming. Now, these technologies there can play a significant role. So it's not just about trade or immediate import-export. It's about also what you will be adding to human development over there. Similarly, you are an important maritime nation. India also has a huge coastline, may not be as big as yours probably, but there could be synergies in that cooperation and partnership. India is trying to develop a lot in the aerospace and defense sectors, where we could work together with New Zealand. So I think there's a serious intent to expand the scope of our partnership from this small, what you were talking of, only 2% of your total exports go to New Zealand. It would be the same on the other side also. So I was also looking at my figures. Probably you are the 80th or 79th trading partner. But that didn't deter me from looking at you as an important trading partner. Also because it's so small, the delta of opportunity becomes large. If we look at it from that perspective, probably the growth we can achieve together, both sides, can also be large, because the small base gives us an opportunity to grow manifold. So I think, and I must say, of course, the two leaders, Honorable Prime Minister Lakson and Prime Minister Modi, really went on, got together and became very close. And he's a very, very informal young Prime Minister. And I think I see tremendous potential also in the geopolitical partnership that is sought to be built between New Zealand and India.
Great words. And Minister Macleay, briefly from you, where does an India-New Zealand free trade agreement sit in your priorities?
Well, it's the number one priority we have. We said that the relationship with India would be a strategic priority, and that trade, of course, would be part of that. And it really is because when countries trade with each other, people grow the relationship that we need them to. And I agree absolutely with Piesh and everything that he said. And so, you know, we've put a lot of effort in both sides, the two governments. You've seen Piesh visit now with the largest ever business delegation to New Zealand. When our Prime Minister went down in March of this year, it's the largest business delegation we've ever taken anywhere in the world. You know, we celebrated the success of that with the launch of the negotiations. And so we're committed to continue to work at this. Just to follow on, opportunity is what we decide to make of it. You know, as a small nation, we have often traded more, bought more than our relative size would suggest. You know, with the US, we buy almost $8 billion worth of goods every year, services more. If you take another, you know, large trading relationship we have, New Zealand through a free trade agreement with China. When that agreement was signed 20 years ago, there was a few $1 billion worth of two-way trade. It is now over $40 billion, and we buy almost $20 billion from more than 1 billion people, 5 million here. But that is actually just not buying consumable goods. It is buying things that actually jointly have value added to them that are sent out to the rest of the world. And so that's the real opportunity that we have to share through a high-quality free trade agreement, that the businesses of India and the businesses of New Zealand will find ways to grow wealth, to innovate, to find solutions to the challenges that the world face and are willing to pay for, that actually today we can't even imagine. You know, this trade agreement is not about today or tomorrow or the next year. It's about the next 20 years and how much we achieve together.
Fantastic. We're going to bring this plane, I think it's an Air India plane, into land very shortly. But I want to ask you both a couple more, hopefully brief questions. I mean, one is, I liked what you said, Minister Piyush Goyal, a lot that's different about our countries, actually a lot in common. You know, we try not to talk too much about the cricket, but, you know, that comes from our backgrounds, our cultures, our Commonwealth history. By the way, I love, the Indians have done something amazing. Even Americans like cricket today, right? I mean, this is unbelievable. But outside of the economic, which we've focused on rightly, what else should we be doing together? Is it sport? Is it movies? Is it defence? Is it, you've talked education exchanges? Maybe just give us one thing you think is an area of focus that could be very exciting for our two great, albeit very different nations.
Maybe take rugby to India?
You have kabaddi.
We have kabaddi. By the way, the Indian women's cricket team, just 2 days back, Sunday, won the World Cup final. And it only goes to show that our women folk are coming out of the traditional being in the background. And of course, we have a High Commissioner also here now. The whole negotiating team, I think, is led by ladies, the team from India. So it's a new world there. But one area which always fascinated me and where I think there's a huge scope for expanding this relationship, and I'm not going to test it on myself because he's threatened that if we don't conclude a good deal, he's going to make me do bungee jumping. But not for me, but for the rest of the Indians. We could take a lot of these sports to India, a lot of potential on tourism, water sports, helping us in evolving what makes for a good tourist destination would be something that will be great for India to learn from New Zealand.
Great stuff. And Todd?
Well, look, Simon, I agree completely. And so ultimately, you know, the real opportunity is to continue to take the relationship to the next level. We should continue to challenge ourselves and to do so very, very much more. You know, our negotiators have been working very, very hard. I think they're now the 5th round of formal negotiation. I see one of our most senior and respected journalists in the room, Fran O'Sullivan. Fran, I can't remember a time when there were 5 formal rounds of any trade negotiation in less than 12 months. And so the desire on the part of the two governments...
He's telling you to put that in your next column, Fran, okay?
the desire of the two governments to work as hard as we can to give opportunity, equal opportunity to the business community, but the citizens, because businesses are about people. The desire and the commitment is there, and it's evident, it's obvious. Simon, I think that actually, though, it's the very many other things that happened. When the Prime Minister was in India, there were 33 agreements signed, government to government, or between the business communities. There was one around aviation. Air India and Air New Zealand have a code-share arrangement now. There is now a commitment for direct flights in 2028 or sooner if the planes are available. Here's something that people in the room may or may not know. The new CEO of our national carrier, Air New Zealand, was born in India. And the CEO, quite significant. The CEO of Air India was born in New Zealand. We didn't need a trade agreement to do that. And ultimately, Piesh and I said to the two of them, if there aren't direct flights, we will make them bungee jump as well. But the point that I'm making here, the other agreement that was signed was around sport cooperation. So the two agencies have said they will cooperate together. It's our job to make sure that they do, so that the sport grows, that young people can come backwards and forwards. And here's another thing I haven't raised with Piesh yet, but will be over the next couple of days. We have the most amazing sector industry to make the world's best films in New Zealand. We're investing heavily in that. We have foreign direct investment outside coming into Auckland elsewhere. And you make, after I saw an announcement from another country a while ago, you make the best films in the world. And so ultimately we can find a way through our agreement, looking at services, for New Zealand films to be made in India and Indian films to be made here. And with that direct link, Piesh and I can be in a movie together.
Fantastic. I'd like to see that movie, but I wouldn't pay very much.
Simon, he can. I don't think I can. But certainly Todd can.
Those movie star looks. Ladies and gentlemen, one very brief. You're going to be very brief, you two, okay? I want very brief answers. We have an exciting, you've mentioned it already, dynamic, vibrant Indian diaspora in New Zealand. They paid more than average New Zealanders. They've contributed a huge amount to our country. A very brief word on what they can do for India-New Zealand relations.
I have always believed that the Indians who live in another country, and now in this case New Zealand, have to be loyal to that country, have to ensure that they are peaceful, they understand and merge with the local culture while preserving their own. And in India, there is a belief that the nation or the land which feeds your children is holy, is the most important place for you. We call it in Hindi, the word is karma bhumi. That's, you're born in one place, it's called Janma Bhumi. And karma bhumi, the land where you work, is karma bhumi. And you have to be loyal. So you have to be really loyal to the land which feeds your children. And I think our Indians across the world, and we have about 40 million Indians who live all over the world, maybe no country in the world where there's not a significant Indian presence. They were always explorers. They were always going around exploring new opportunities. But wherever they've gone, they've been peaceful. They merge with the rest of society. We may have had an occasional unfortunate exception, but by and large across the world, Indians are looked upon as a very friendly, very easy to work with, and a community that merges with the local culture very well. And to all the Indians who are working here, thank you for holding the Indian flag high.
Simon, when I grew up, when I went to school, most of the school looked like I did. And I remember there was one Indian family there. We played cricket together, and he was a very, very good spin bowler. When I look at New Zealand today, the country my children have grown up in, it looks like the rest of the world, and New Zealand is better. it's much better for that. You know, for 300,000 people from India having chosen New Zealand to travel from the other side of the world without knowing what they would get and to come and make this place their home, tells me this is a very, very special country. And they haven't come and integrated. They've come and brought their culture and their heritage, and they've been proud of what they have, you know, at home, and they've come and contributed, and they are New Zealanders who are equal and have the same rights and the same obligations as anybody else. And I agree with you. I want to thank them for what they do. My friend Kanwaljit Singh Bakshi is over there, one of the first members of Parliament in New Zealand who was born in India. We went to Parliament together with Simon 17 years ago. Kanwaljit was there for 12 years or 15 years? 12 years. It felt like 15. But
and hasn't aged a bit.
That's right. But Kanwaljit's father was a member of Parliament in India, and I think that when we met during we talked, and I think that your father and his father knew each other a long time ago. He is a New Zealander, and he is an Indian, and he is an Indian New Zealander. And actually, if you come to New Zealand, it is a land of opportunity. You are treated well, and we want everybody, no matter where they've come from, to do well. That's why, as Trade Minister, I'm like Piesh, I am almost never at home. My job is to be on the world stage, to look for opportunities for every single New Zealander. And we know when we get it right, when actually the citizens of both countries do well. So thank you for your visit, for the delegation that's come with you, and it'll be my privilege, my pleasure over the next few days to show you parts of New Zealand you haven't seen before. And should you wish, I'll let you drive my car.
Ladies and gentlemen, Honourable Todd McClay, Honourable Piyush Goyal, and not a speeding ticket in sight on this trip. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you very much, Minister Goyal, Minister McClay, and Simon. I think what we've heard just now really captures the energy and the optimism in this relationship, respecting sensitivities but working hard to make it happen. Thank you all very much for your participation in today's event, for your continued commitment to strengthening the New Zealand-India relationship. What I'm going to ask is for all of the speakers from today, everyone that spoke today, could you please come up to the stage for a group photo? For everybody else, we have networking, drinks and canapes out in the pre-function area. So please make your way out there and grab something to eat and drink and continue the conversation. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.